Hello and welcome to The Breakdown, everybody. I am your not-so-humble talking hairdo, Ben. It's nice to see everyone here today. I'd like to say that fall's a little more in the air, but it's not. It's a nice, balmy 90 billion degrees outside here in the desert. And we're here in Central Texas, coming to you live from the Neon Parrot Live Studios at the Majestic Coffee Shop in historic downtown Abilene, Texas. And we are back to sports this week. Last week was a little bit different, but Big Frank carried us through. And anyways, what a what a week for football. It's exciting for all of us fans out there. If you're the Dallas Cowboys fan, you're feeling pretty good today. Whereas before the season started, you were really, really nervous with what was going to happen there. Cowboys lose to the Eagles first game, and then they beat who'd they beat last weekend? Somebody good, somebody pretty good. That is not good show prep, folks. That's okay. We'll get through this in a minute. But yeah, this weekend you have the Bears, the Cowboys at the Bears, and I would be nervous if I'm the Bears. Like we always say, we're going to get to Big Frank and the NFL as we progress through the show. We'll start off with college football. We had a crazy weekend last weekend in the college football world. And I guess I'm going to start because we are located just a couple of hours from Austin, Texas. Lots of friends who are Texas fans and Texas alumni, etc. Texas lost their Ohio State opener, which was Arch Manning's first game, and we had our show, and we talked about that before that game and after. And since we haven't, because Texas has played two teams in a row that aren't even close to the caliber of program that they are, one being San Antonio, UTSA, I believe it is, or no, that might, whatever. Jimmy Lipper, Polytech, Yogurt University, and San Jose State, who is another, that program is in shambles. Well, Arch Manning has had basically three not great games. He is out there looking pedestrian, like I like to say, whenever I see something that is less than great. And we discussed on this show how after week one, everybody was just, Matt Patricia with Ohio State defense just outsmarted Arch Manning, and for 4 whole quarters, it was just circle the wagons. Lots of my people and friends included, circle the wagons to defend Arch Manning. And we came in here a little bit hot after that loss, kind of taking him to task, and how we don't really feel sorry for Arch Manning because, you want to talk about the magic DNA and getting just born into the right family, right? So, and the talk right now is amongst the Mannings do no wrong, and Arch is, going to be the best player, blah, blah, blah. Amongst those people, it is just they have nothing but excuses and, he's just getting his feet under him, this and that. So I've never coached football. I played football, as I've said on the show, from the time I think I was in 4th grade to 12th grade, tackle football, 2 state championship rings from Midland Christian School in Midland, Texas. And I'm not claiming to have been a big part of that, but I was on the scout team and on those teams. And I see, and I've been watching football for a long time, I have seen what solid quarterback play looks like from different levels of the game. And you know, what I see right now with Arch Manning is I see a guy that's not getting the quick reads and isn't rocket fire. It isn't like getting the ball and getting rid of the ball, and in college you can make plays happen with your feet, which he's done a little bit of that, but I guess I lead with this story, this topic, because it's pretty interesting, not just on a state level, but on a national level. Texas was ranked, I guess, number 4 or 2 or something coming into the season. And Arch Manning has been there for 2 years. And something that I thought about was, if he's so damn good, why couldn't he beat out Quinn Ewers last year? Why was Quinn Ewers the starter and not Arch Manning, right? So football is a right now league. What have you done for me, not just lately, but right now? Because things change so quickly. It's a violent game. It's a collision game. So I just think it's going to be interesting. I believe, let me see. Surely I thought I would have. Okay. And this weekend, folks, this will be 3 games in a row where the University of Texas is playing just a high school football team, okay? This is Sam Houston State at Texas. The point spread is Texas is favored by 39.5 points. And they're going to win, but I'm not going to look at the score as much. Well, I will kind of, because what the haters have been saying about Arch and the program is the last 2 games they should have won by like 40 and 50 points. And in one of those games, they kept it to like 18-point difference. And so it's telling. And for some reason, the Texas, real season won't start for another couple of weeks, I guess. I think their first game is against Florida, and Florida has not, they're not doing so hot right now either. So, and I'm talking in all kinds of circles, but this is great because this kind of stuff doesn't really matter, but it matters to us that love football. And this is one of the things I don't like about college football is these big programs, in many cases pay these small schools millions of dollars to basically go and get a win. And it just makes it for, every week on the college football schedule, I have to say, out of 100 games, almost 100 games, I have to pick out which ones will actually be competitive. And that goes on all season. And to me, I think that could be fixed. That could be fixed by actually only conferences playing one another and stacking up programs. You could do it every decade, every 5 years, whatever. I don't know. It's just, that's the nature. We all get excited about college football, and then you get, some of these, I've written down 1, 2, 3, 4 college games that I'm going to make some picks and predictions on. And there's like a billion games this weekend. And most of them are not going to be very interesting for the most part. So that is my contrarian outlook on college football. And Arch Manning, he better go off this weekend against Sam Houston State. And, I don't know. I think if he doesn't and they lose a game against somebody that actually matters, there could be sharks in the water in Austin, if you know what I mean. So, Texas Tech. It's my almost mater. I claim Texas Tech and Texas A&M these days because my daughter goes there. But Texas Tech at Utah. The Utes are a 3-point favorite. Now, my buddy picked the Texas Tech to win the Big 12 championship this year and go to the college football playoff. and would yet to be determined. This same friend of mine, Tech has also been playing Jimmy Lipper, nobodies for the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and been routing these little teams. But this is the first conference game, and Utah is one of the, I want to say they're one of the better, if not the best programs in the Big 12. And they got a great coach. They have a great, clearly, they got a good NIL program because they got some really good players as well. And I'm nervous. Generally what happens with Texas Tech is when they actually have that first game that matters, we get totally rolled and just beat to a pulp. So that's what I kind of think could happen. I don't know that we'll get like a beat down, but I think the Utah can cover that 3 points pretty easily. Now, this is where if all they were writing about, and even in the Wall Street Journal all off season, about this billionaire donor booster guy that's a Texas Tech alum, we're about to see if all this money that he is injected into the program is going to be worth it or not. Because this Utah game is going to be one of the toughest games that Tech will have all season. Certainly in the division. So, Wreckham Tech, I hope for the best, but I fear for the worst. So, moving on. Let's talk about something from the last weekend. The Aggies defeat the Irish. The Aggies go into Notre Dame and take that ball game in overtime. And it was amazing. It was, electric up until the last moment. And it's funny, our resident Aggie Viking, Blake, he was at his family's house, his parents' house for that game. I got the invite, but I couldn't make it. It was a little late for this guy. But anyways, his brother-in-law is a Notre Dame fan, so I can only imagine they were all in the same house watching the same television. I can only imagine how wild that was. But Aggies defeat the Irish. That's huge. That is a huge, huge victory for the Aggies. And what I hope is I think Notre Dame, whoever they have next, it might be Purdue or somebody like this weekend. But what I hope is that Notre Dame beats the crap out of the next team they play, so it'll make that Aggies win look a little bit more dominant. And so that's what we're hoping for there. Yeah. Oh, to back up, you know how I am? We're going to go all over the map today here on the show. To back up a little bit, we had a nice little win last night on a WNBA game, and we are in round 1 of the WNBA playoffs. You have the Indiana Fever versus the Atlanta Dream tonight, as well as the second late game at 8:30 is the Seattle Storm versus the Las Vegas Aces. And then tomorrow night, we have the New York Liberty versus the Phoenix Mercury. And the Phoenix game was the one that we hit on last night. And I think, Phoenix was going to get dropped if they didn't win that game, and they won it, so they're still in it. Series, or well, whatever. But check out these WNBA playoff games are primarily on ESPN, and they happen when football games are not happening generally. So that's been pretty fun. So to continue on my college talk, other interesting games, the few out of the many, interesting games that I see is Michigan at Nebraska. Michigan is only a 2-point favorite. This is where I think you got a chance to make some coins if you want to dance with that devil, okay? So I don't know why Michigan is only a 2-point favorite, and I don't know why every single year Nebraska is just overrated as hell. Like, they haven't been particularly relevant since I was in high school, and I just mostly don't get that. I don't understand it, but what I would do is maybe Michigan has like a injured quarterback. I honestly don't know, but what I will do is I'm going to pick Michigan to cover that 2 points and to completely slaughter Nebraska in Lincoln. That's what I think is going to happen. Take that one into the bank. And we'll see if I was right and if you should have faded me next week. We'll find out. The next one is Arizona State at the Baylor Bears. I think I've made it clear on this program. I don't particularly like Baylor. I just think they're kind of stuck up people, kind of like TCU a little bit. At Texas Tech, we hate TCU, like bad. Those are like all the, like those kids are going, they're driving brand new Range Rovers and Mercedes their freshman year to that school. If you don't have an imported car and you go to TCU, then you are not going to the cool kid parties. It just ain't happening. So, that's kind of the deal. TCU, Baylor, private school, college kids, not so much. So, Arizona State, the Sun Devils, I believe, at Baylor. Baylor is a 2.5-point favorite. I picked a couple of early, I think the first game Baylor lost, second game Baylor won a couple weeks back. And I've been fairly accurate, as my son would say, on picking the Bears games, the Baylor Bears games. I think on this one you go the other way and you take Arizona State to upset Baylor, and you probably will win a lot more coinage if you go ahead and take the money line on that as opposed to the points. So either take, here again, at your own risk, Arizona State plus 2.5 or to win to upset. And because we don't like Baylor on the show, and we don't really particularly care for TCU either, unless they're playing like a big dog program. Then we like TCU, but we never like Baylor. So now the next one that's interesting to me is Florida at Miami. Miami is a 7.5-point favorite because Florida's been having some issues. And Miami, I believe, beat Notre Dame week 1, which we predicted. I called that one. Ben called that one. Miami beat Notre Dame. And, I am right some of the time on this show. So I'd hate to know what the actual, how many times I'm right versus wrong, but I'm always going to let you know when I'm right. And this week, I like Miami. I don't know if I like them to win by a touchdown, but this could get out of control. And I don't know if it's Venables, what the Florida coach's name is, but he's getting pretty close to being on the hot seat. Absolutely. So those are my few interesting games that I see. And anytime USC, that's another one. I could give a damn about some of these California teams just because, I'll watch you play basketball because that's what you guys are good at. But it's hard for me to care about USC football, UCLA football. I mean, they have just missed. They're off the train. They're somewhere in the Badlands, and they play football together over there. They're playing. I think UCLA is playing at the Rose Bowl these days in Pasadena or something like that. I don't know. They're playing in an archaic, old ass stadium that they can't even fill. They can't even fill probably 60% of the seats in that place. Oh no. Okay, one sec, guys. Okay, this is I missed an appointment. Ben missed an appointment. That's okay. It's no big deal. Okay, so Sam Houston State, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's get into the NFL. The NFL. I'm going to call up Big Frank in a minute and let him just let it all out about what happened to the Bears, okay? So, the Bears lost over the weekend to the Lions in pretty brutal fashion, okay? And there has since Ben Johnson, the head coach, which I can't wait to hear Big Frank's take on all this, but there's been some pretty interesting press conferences blaming the team's efforts. And when you do that, it's generally trending in a bad direction when a coach calls out a team's efforts. Because these guys are egomaniacs and they make millions of dollars and they don't like to be publicly shamed. So I will get Big Frank's take on that. Before I do that, my Raiders, my team, I'm going to go ahead and say we got our ass kicked by the Chargers. I was nervous about that game because Justin Herbert's great. Jim Harbaugh's a mad scientist, genius. Their defense looked great. Okay, so the Raiders, we did not score a touchdown. We kicked 3 field goals, I think. Or maybe 3, 6, 9. Yeah, so we kicked 3 field goals. Couldn't get in the end zone. Geno Smith, our quarterback, looked awful. Just awful. In my opinion, he was a starting quarterback in Seattle for the last 2 years. But in my opinion, Geno Smith, for the last several years, has been a good, serviceable backup. What the hell were we doing in the draft? We got Tom Brady now. We got Chip Kelly on the defense. Or maybe he's offense. Whatever. We've got Pete Carroll, Coach Carroll. And we didn't draft a quarterback. I mean, it wouldn't have killed us to take a shot at the Sanders kid, Shedeur Sanders, who got passed up all the way to the 5th round out of spite. Nobody knows how good that kid is because nobody gave him a shot. And he's going to sit on as Cleveland's 3rd-string quarterback for God knows how long. But, I mean, Geno Smith, we're all optimistic, most of us, at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the football season. And to be honest, my Raiders played the New England Patriots, who still appear to be hot, steaming garbage. And we won that for our first game. Way to go. Who gives a crap? The Patriots suck. And so who do we have week 2? A real team. Like, maybe not like the best in the league, right? But the Chargers are a real deal. They're big time. They've built something, and we're going to see what that looks like. And we played like absolute crap. And our defense pretty much looked pretty good. They kept us in the game, but it was 20-9 or something. I mean, it was not good. And so that's my rant about the Raiders. This weekend, why wouldn't I? Okay. Oh, yeah. This weekend on Sunday, we go to Washington to play the Commandos, who they're pissed because they've got their butts kicked a time or two opening this season. And the Commandos are a -3.5 point favorite. I would take that, and I would put everything you got on that because I just don't see with our offense and Geno Smith. Geno looks like Arch Manning out there, okay? There's some shots for you. He snaps the ball. It's the NFL. Like, you got to get rid of the football or you're going to get hit and hit hard. Everybody wants to blame these offensive linemen every time something doesn't go well for the quarterback. But, like, damn, dude, I'm counting 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Geno Smith still has the ball in his hand. You can't win football games like that. And clearly on Monday night, you can't score a damn touchdown like that either, can you? Thank God for your kicker. Yeah, I'm pissed. It's awful. So that's me being upset about the Raiders. I'm going to move on. So, yeah, Sunday, Raiders, Commandos. That's going to go bad. Tonight, Thursday night football, one of my favorite. Thursday night used to be the worst game of the week because they just put up the like weird matchups like Arizona Cardinals versus Houston Texans. Nobody gave a crap, right? And now the Amazon is broadcasting the Thursday night football games. They're getting some good action. And tonight may not be a good game to watch, but it's going to be entertaining as hell because it is the Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills are looking like they do every year this time of year. Oh, they're going to the Super Bowl. They're going to win it. Have they won a Super Bowl? Nope, never. But they've been there a lot of times. And the Dolphins are in full-blown disaster mode. They have this kind of introverted, quirky, tech bro style coach in Mike McDaniels. Wears like Elvis gold glasses on the sideline in joggers, and like this kind of thing. He's like a cool customer, but I've always wondered if he was a player coach, because players tend to like coaches that are either, I don't know, they kind of like guys, and they tend to like guys like Andy Reid that are big galoots of men, that probably played some college ball or some high school ball. They do like former players, but former player coaches don't always go well. But this Mike McDaniel guy is very, I don't know, he's kind of odd. He's a little strange. Like I said, he looks like he belongs in a Starbucks with a laptop. But his job, he is on the hottest seat in the NFL right now, and they have lost their 2 games. They're 0-2. And if you're 0-2, we all know that is not good. Just like the Bears are 0-2. I hate to say it, but we're going to get into that in a minute. But the Bills are currently an 11.5-point favorite, and I think the Bills could win really big tonight, and it could be really ugly. And then I think after that, I think they're on a long week because they're playing the Thursday game. And then my prediction, folks, the Bills win tonight big. Mike McDaniels sometime in the next 2 weeks is fired. That's my prediction.
You had a commenter ask you, how do you feel about Genty?
Ashton Genty. Yeah, he looks great. He's the only reason we got any yards.
They felt like they underutilized Genty big time.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of people, and we're talking Raiders again. Good question, Sammy.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed that comment.
No, you're good. So I think that it's a slippery slope, as they like to say, in politics and such. But with Ashton Genty being the first-year running back, our early third, it was like our third. We had 3rd or 4th pick in the draft. We picked him. He was from Boise State, best running back in college football. On one hand, you could say we underutilized Genty for the last couple of weeks, but you can't just give him the ball every time. Like, we have 10 other guys out there, 6 of whom I think or 5 of whom can score touchdowns. So it's like, we got Brock Bowers and a great tight end. Our wide receivers are nothing to write home about, but that's where your quarterback needs to make stuff happen. So the Ashton Genty question, yes, I would like to see him get the ball some more, but you don't want to smoke the kid early because this is the big leagues. And, it's just like Saquon Barkley in Philly. Like, he had this best year last year, but, like, he could get hurt this year because he's overworked. So Ashton Genty, let's keep giving him the ball, but we can't rely on him to do all the work and make all the points. If that answers your question. Okay, now. Yeah, tonight, Bills win big. McDaniels is fired by next week. That's what happens. And Cowboys at the Bears on Sunday. The boys are a point favorite. We're going to get into it right now with Big Frank. Yikes. And, like, I really am interested in his take on all this stuff. Because, goodness gracious. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, Big Frank, how you doing today?
What's going on? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just licking my wounds over the weekend's losses.
You, what a pathetic performance by us. I mean, it's just, it's so discouraging, and so I don't know the words to describe it. I mean, it's just, it's beyond belief. I mean, it's. Where do you want me to start at? Okay.
Okay, yeah, let me help you.
Okay.
Let's start by the game before your defense looked pretty solid. And then the
Yes.
other day the defense did not look like they were there well, it just wasn't working.
Yeah, well, to go back to the first game, I mean, that's because they had that rookie quarterback,
Right.
who he found himself in the fourth quarter, but that was the start of our defense's demise between the last quarter of that game and all four quarters of the Detroit game. Our defense was pathetic. We're missing two of our best players, which just happened to be the DBs, Jalen Johnson and Brisker. Now, Johnson came back from a groin, and he really shouldn't have played. He played, and just like it's going to happen, he re-injured it, and now the talk is he tore it, and he's going to be out for the year now. They haven't, announced that yet. Plus, the middle linebacker tried to play back again, and then he re-injured it. And it's the bottom line is we just don't have the horses. It really all comes down to talent, and our talent on our team is pretty obvious that we're not there with everybody else. I mean, Caleb Williams, to me, seems like he's improving. He's getting better as he goes. Both games, last year, if we could break the 20-point barrier, we were kind of lucky. But both of our games so far, we've been scoring. We've bogged down a few times when we could have, helped the defense out a little bit. But, when you get behind like we got behind last week, the defense knows you're going to throw the ball every time. And then they just going to, release the wolves on you. And, they're going to send everybody. They're going to pass rush you because they know you're not going to run the ball. So it's our defense really, really needs help. And it really just comes down to players and who you have and the elite, talent level out there. We just don't seem to have it at the key positions that you need to address, and it all goes back to our, how our ownership or whoever's in charge of hiring people, our general manager now by the name of Ryan Poles, okay, they hired him after the other guy, didn't do well. So then he's the one that's in charge of hiring Eberflus. And that was his first hire after his first general manager job. So he thought he had the next, great thing with Eberflus. And that obviously didn't pan out. And so it didn't pan out. So you go after the highest, everybody wanted Ben Johnson, and he is good, I think, and he will be good. But like anyone, it's going to take time. Why we brought Pace back to realign with this new guy, because he's going to want his type of player that's going to fit his offense and whoever he gets, to run his defense, his type of players. And, he stuck with this roster when he took the job. He obviously said the reason why he took the job was because of Caleb Williams. And then he can build around it, which he's doing. But I think he's finding out very quickly that the rest of the roster is just absolutely no good. And this guy's track record of drafting over the last 3 or 4 years is just abominable. It's just nobody ever pans out, and they wind up cutting him. A great example this last week in the Detroit game. I hope I'm not rambling on too long here.
You're good.
His first round draft pick, okay, Colston Loveland, which when the draft night was on, we were all looking our head, okay, who is this guy? Okay, great. One of the best tight ends out there, they said. Everybody said that we were going to be taking Warren, the kid from Penn State. Well, we didn't take him, and he's knocking it out of the park for Indianapolis. I think I was reading where he's leading the league in, receptions over there. And I'm not saying that, this Loveland couldn't be good, but he's not doing anything for us in the first 2 games. Our second pick, which was a high second rounder, which was almost a first round pick, is Luther Burden, a wide receiver. Now, we're all shaking our heads there tonight saying, okay, what do we need a wide receiver for since we've already got DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, tight end, okay? Again, he hasn't caught a pass yet. He's been regulated to kickoff returns, okay? Then our next pick, these are all the top 4 picks, which were all done by the second round. Offensive tackle from Boston College and a defensive tackle from, I think it's Missouri, were healthy scratches for the game.
Yeah.
They didn't even suit up. So if you are not playing your top 2 or 3 round picks, there's something wrong, because that's what you're doing. You're bringing in the top talent, and we got blasted. And you mean to tell me these guys couldn't help us? As that bad as it is, that just tells me that that's not a Ben Johnson pick, because he just got hired in January, so he's only got 3 or 4 months to come up, with his plan, what he wants. So you got to give this guy a couple years, to develop a roster the way he wants it. But it's just, that's it in a nutshell. He just doesn't draft very well. He never takes anybody from the top 10, the top conferences like the Big Ten or the Colston Loveland was his only one. He's always picking these guys from no-name schools who, supposed to be a sleeper in the draft and things like that. And they're not. I mean, they're just not. He's just not building the talent that you need to compete, especially in our division. Okay. Everybody said, oh, Detroit's going to, they're really going to go downhill without their 2 coordinators. Well, they don't look like they're downhill without their 2 coordinators.
No, they don't look bad.
The talent is still there. They still got the same receivers. They still got the quarterback. I'm sure they're still running a somewhat same version, of a system. So, in Green Bay, oh my God, Green Bay to me looks like they can give Philadelphia a run for their for the top spot. They look so good in Philadelphia, and then you give them, on top of that, you give them Micah Parsons. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Green Bay's looking scary.
Yeah, Green Bay's looking really scary, and it's just, we got to play them twice, and Minnesota is not that good. I mean, I don't think they were. We should have beat them.
Right.
But they're going through a little bit of a phase with their new quarterback. So it's just frustrating. Here we are 0-2. Now, we got the Cowboys coming in this week, okay? And
yeah, you want to talk about teams that looked like they're going to be no good in the beginning, like in the off season, and now the Cowboys, they're not looking that bad, No,
they got defensive problems too. The same thing. They can't stop anybody. And here's the thing that's scary about the Cowboys is I happened that Washington, the Giant Cowboy game was on here last week too, and I got to watch that. And that kicker that they got, that guy can kick from 65 to 70 yards, they say, and he's unstoppable. So it's no longer, if you get to the 50-yard line,
yeah,
you're in trouble. And they lost the game because of that. Russell throws the stupid interception, and then they drive down the field and they let this guy kick it. The Cowboys should have lost that game.
Yeah.
So it's just he's a very big weapon for them, that kicker.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask you too. I think I was listening to. I think it was a recent press conference with Ben Johnson. Now, did he call out the players' efforts?
Yes, in practice.
Okay.
He was saying that because you knew he wasn't going to sit very kindly to the beating that he took at the hands of the Detroit Lions, because I kind of think the head coach there, Dan Campbell, kind of rubbed it in, because he's still passing at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
And trying to run the score up. So I think that's just sending a message to everybody that, hey, everybody's talking about, oh, I lost both my coordinators and, we're not going to be any good and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then to get embarrassed like that, he called out their practice habits, and he says, we're going to see this week if our practice habits are championship caliber football, and we just got to get better at it.
So can I? Did you watch much of the Raiders game? I hate it when they do the double headers and then nobody watches the second game.
I did too, because over here it doesn't start till 9:00. Same
Right.
thing for you guys may be a little bit earlier than that, but still, I thought the first game was fantastic. There's Baker Mayfield again doing what he does. Again, another former first-round pick who was kind of written off, and then he found his right spot in Tampa Bay. And I mean, you read his stats; he's thrown more touchdown passes than any quarterback has in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and then that game came on, the Raider game, and then typical Geno Smith. He has a great game one week, and then he throws another 2 to 3 interceptions. I gave it to halftime, and the score. I think they only scored 3 more points the rest of the game.
They kicked three field goals, no touchdowns. They kicked 3, and they could not score 1 touchdown. And when I'm watching this kid, I'm counting 5 whole seconds before he tries to get rid of the ball. And I'm like, you've been in the league for like a decade or more.
You can't do that.
You can't just sit with the ball in your hand, bro. I was just screaming at the TV, man. It was awful.
Yeah, and there's another one where you're wasting. You guys got that tight end, that Bowers kid.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. You can't get him the ball. I mean, you probably might need a wide receiver or two. And there's the other thing I was reading in the paper today or yesterday. Gentry, who was the Bears loved that guy.
Yeah.
And if he was available, they were going to draft him. And he's basically saying, hey, I can take more carries.
Yeah.
If they give him to me, they're not letting him run the ball.
Right.
So you're kind of like wasting that out. And then, Crosby on the D end, I mean, he just terrorizes everybody. It's like, again, you got lots of talent, but, at the quarterback position where you need it the most, they just don't have it yet,
Yeah, and I was so frustrated during the draft because we could have taken Ashton Genty, and then we could have taken a shot on maybe Shedeur Sanders or maybe a quarterback, just to develop or whatever.
Correct.
I just
in
can't.
The pipeline.
Yeah, and then this was my other my question to you that was kind of a hot topic amongst the media is Tom Brady being in the coach's box when he's a broadcaster and kind of how all that looked.
Well, yeah, especially down here. That's a hot topic down here because Brady, I don't know why they're doing this, but the game of the week is the Cowboys-Bears game, and they're playing it late at 3:25. We're normally a noon game over here, but if it's a 3:25, it's usually because it wants to be like their number one game. So Brady is going to be announcing it with, I think his partner is Burkett there or whatever it is. So they're upset now because our next game is against the Raiders. And so Brady comes in for all these team meetings before to go over stuff. And they're saying, well, is that, that's kind of like a double-edged sword, and that maybe give him an unfair advantage. And then, the Bears guys are saying, well, we never say nothing in those production meetings anyway, and we're not going to give them any trade secrets. But it does present a little bit of an issue, I think.
I think it's a bad look. I think it's definitely a bad look.
It is. I really do. And I mean, come on. That's the thing. Does Tom Brady really need the money if Fox is going to pay him, even though they paid him, I heard, over $300 million? Okay, that's kind of hard. But I mean, if you're an owner of a team, even at a small stake, you're worth a hell of a lot more than that. And all his endorsements and all the other stuff he does, why does he need to do television broadcast and then still own a team and then do the other stuff? That's just those egos of these guys thinking that they could just do anything and everything. I mean, does he really need to do it, And but I tell you, he's good. I love him as an announcer.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better this year too so far.
He really adds a lot to it. I liked Greg Olson too. I thought Greg Olson,
he's great.
He got the raw deal because he was their number one guy. And then once Brady signed, they dropped him to number 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big topic around here too, about all these meetings that Brady gets to have. And then not so much if it was later in the year, but then, all of a sudden it's the next game that we have is against the team. So they're saying, well, he shouldn't be here. They should, assign another team to do the game. But they want it as their number one out there. So, I don't know how that goes. So
yeah, that's pretty interesting. Hopefully they can get that cleaned up. I had another question unrelated to our teams, but
Okay.
sad story, but Joe Burrow goes down with the toe injury. He's out for 3 more months.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with that guy. I don't know what he
Yeah,
does.
well, there's another one who's just super talented, but he is one of these guys, and it's unfortunate. It's just injury prone, and it's not like the guy doesn't stay in shape.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in phenomenal shape, but every year it seems like, and it's something different every year. And then, normally turf toes are not really big, usually a week or two, or they're really bad like his, where it requires surgery. So it's really sad, for the game. For us, we have Cincinnati on the schedule the first week in November, so
Right.
we're kind of happy about that.
Excellent.
For fact, at least we don't, depending upon who they have in as a backup over there. But yeah, that's unfortunate. You hate to see it, but here again, you talk about quarterbacks now, and the most important position in the roster is your backup quarterback. Okay, look at him. Okay, he's going to be out for a while. Now you got Justin Fields too. He's out with concussion protocol.
Right.
They're talking Jaden Daniels may miss at least this week or next week with a knee injury. And then there was a fourth.
That'll be
J.J.
great.
McCarthy, the guy from Minnesota, who they're saying down here that the injury is not as serious as it is, but they're just not happy with his performances. Because if you take a look, other than the last quarter of the Bears game where we made him look like he was a superstar, for 3/4 of the game and then all of the game on Monday night, he looked horrible.
Yeah, he's not looking so hot.
Yeah, so I think that they're just trying to say, you know what, maybe he's not the guy. That's what they're saying down here. They're saying, that's just Kevin O'Connell saying, we're going to take it easy, where he can really he could play if he wanted to. They said it's just the ankle sprain, but they're going to, go and, try to be safe and not hurt him or whatever like that. But
right.
Yeah, it's like, how'd you like to be Justin Jefferson, probably the top receiver in the league?
Yeah.
And he just can't seem to get a quarterback thing right, where he's like opened all the time and he can't get him the ball and things like that. So, but there's 4 starting quarterbacks this week that aren't going to be playing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I didn't realize that Jaden Daniels was out, because we've got the Commanders coming up this Sunday, so maybe that'll help us out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he's officially out yet, but he's been out of practice from what I've heard all week, because he had like a knee issue, and they're going to be, obviously they want to be very careful with him.
Right.
And then the other one, he's not hurt, but he's not really doing that well, and I think that's caught up with him as the Houston Texan quarterback.
Yeah.
Who, he was on fire his first year, and then last year it was kind of so-so, and this year he's just all over the board.
Yeah, that's not looking good. And for folks around here that have been getting really excited about the Texans over the last couple of years, it's kind of like the Dolphins. My prediction.
Yeah.
My prediction for the week is Bills beat the crap out of the Dolphins. McDaniels is fired by mid next week.
Yeah, most of the games that they've had so far, like on their national televised games so far, have been, pretty competitive and good, with the exception of, and you never know at the beginning of the year, this one here, Miami and Buffalo. Okay, so I don't know what the line is on that one, but I'm sure Buffalo
11.5. Buffalo is 11.5.
I'm surprised it's only 11.5.
Me too.
Usually in football and pro, they don't like to give more than that, because games could change. But I mean, I would have said at least 13.
Yeah.
Minimum, because they really should crush them. I mean,
and apparently the Dolphins held a team meeting, players only meeting, and when that kind of stuff happens, that's whenever it's never. Well, I don't care if it's the NBA or the NFL. The ship is sinking. And that's when ownership and general managers got to get in there and do something. And I don't love McDaniel's press conferences. I kind of thought it's like it was cute the first couple of years. Like, oh, this guy's different. He's kind of he's heady and kind of nerdy, and I like that. But now I'm just like, I don't think you're definitely not a culture guy.
Yeah.
You're not a rah-rah guy.
It would be fine if you're winning. Winning cures all those.
Yes.
That the stuff, the bad stuff that happens to you. But when you start losing like that, then it becomes old hat. You know what I mean? And they've kind of seemed like they've tuned him out, and that Hill character, he's just trouble.
Oh, man.
And they should have moved on from him, a long time ago, but they didn't, And then I don't think Tua is as good as everybody says he is, And
Well, he
kinda,
can't run anymore, because they won't.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get hit, so now he's got to be a pocket passer, and he never really was one of those,
Yeah. So you got Houston is 0-2, and then Kansas City. I mean, everybody's rooting for them to kind of fall down, but they've got a brutal schedule.
Yeah.
They're 0-2, so it's like who are the new teams? You got the Chargers are they're 2-0, so they're kind of like the up and coming guys, and then the Colts. I mean, at 2-0, and they're just like rolling people. Their punter hasn't even punted yet this year.
No way.
They were saying I was reading it today, and I try to read up on some of this stuff to see about it, and they said that he has not punted yet this year. They've either kicked a field goal, or they scored a touchdown, or they might have had a turnover or something, but they have yet to use their punter.
Wow. So, I will say it has been kind of fun watching the Colts do well and Daniel Jones do good.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
Correct, yeah, because Daniel Jones I thought he was pretty good, but there again, the coach of the Giants, that Brian Daboll, he was with the Bills, right? So he was the next, it's almost kind of like the Ben Johnson effect now, and I'm still going to I'm going to hold out yet and give him some time, because you can't really, screw, or be upset with it the first year, but Brian Daboll was the same thing, up until he got there, Josh Allen was was turning the ball over, throwing interceptions. So he comes over there. Okay, he's the next best thing, right? So he goes there. They make the playoffs the first year with Daniel Jones. And then after that, they gave him the big contract, and it just went downhill. And now they got the old Russell Wilson, thing with the, their new guy, the quarterback that they drafted, Jason Dart. And should he be playing, or should be Russ playing? It's like, here we go again.
Yeah, I think Russ will be out of there game 5. I think they probably put in the new kid.
Yeah, but when you look at his stat line, he threw for almost 400 yards. He had like 3 or 4 touchdowns, I believe. And that last touchdown, did you see? It was like a skyball punt that he threw and laid it right into the guy's. I mean, great pass.
Yeah.
But then when they could have won the game, they go to overtime, right? Because they tied it. The guy kicked that 60-yarder. And they turned the ball over to, the Giants, and they run down the field, and he throws that interception wide open to the DB. It's like, okay, Russ, where are you throwing the ball? Dallas runs down, boom, kicks the field goal, and they win the game. So for as great of a stat line he had, he still was one of the reasons why they lost, because he turned the ball over.
Right.
So.
What a deal, man.
Yeah,
well, I hope that we have a better weekend this week than we did last weekend.
Well, I can hope, but I don't know. The only thing, okay, Eberflus is the D coordinator for Dallas, right? So obviously
great.
The head coach that we had. So now that's a big talk down here. It's like, if we can't, put some big numbers up against this guy because of all of his, crap that they had to endure with the last 2 years here. So that's like, there's even more pressure on these guys to do good this year. And that could either go good, or it could turn around and you could get, we can get waylaid again. So,
well, I'm hoping for the best, and
I am too.
I'm hoping we both have a better weekend this weekend. But thanks for letting us get you in the show like you do, and we'll be excited to talk to you next week.
We'll talk next week, and then you and I play each other, and after that, that'll be an interesting conversation. We'll see.
Yeah, that's like
some kind of friendly on the side.
I love
like
it.
These guys do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I love it.
Seafood from out west and steaks here, or just something like that, just to see what's going to go on. We'll see who's the best of the worst there.
I love it. We'll do it.
All right, Ben.
All right, you have a great day. We'll see you, buddy.
All right, thanks, Mark. Bye.
Bye-bye. Big Frank at it again. We had a rough weekend, folks. It was only week 2, but this stuff, it matters to us, and it means a lot to us. And, oh, man, I'm just hoping for a better weekend. I think that we might have a shot against the Commandos this weekend, folks, since maybe the quarterback won't be on. But, anyways, again, Big Frank, thank you for joining our program. You make it better, and we love having you on. And anyways, so to close up the show, like we do, with a little something interesting outside of sports. Hopefully not like last week. Hopefully we won't have to do anything like that again for maybe ever or a long time. But it appears I got Sammy on this one in my Wall Street Journal, as you all know, that I love. That Rolling Stone, this is on our artificial intelligence sector of the program, because as you all know, we have the Stargate Lancium Skynet Center being built over here outside of our formerly sleepy little town of Abilene, Texas. Now has a 5,000 acre freaking monstrosity of a computer system there. Anyways, the Rolling Stone magazine owner sues Google. The publisher says AI-generated answers steal its content and have reduced traffic to their, sites. The Hollywood Reporter has sued Google, alleging that the AI summaries that appear atop search results are illegally using its reporting and depressing online traffic. Penske Media is the first major U.S. news company to challenge Google and its parent Alphabet in court over its growing use of artificial intelligence, which many publishers have said is damaging their businesses. Penske filed the antitrust suit late Friday in federal district court in the District of Columbia, where a judge last year found Google has an illegal monopoly in internet search. That same judge this month imposed softer penalties than the government had been seeking, in part because of the growing competition Google faces from other AI companies. So that's a summary. This AI thing, guys, it's just getting more interesting and more interesting. And I think my only opinion on all this has kind of been one that I've been speaking about since early this summer, is I don't know if this is going to be good. I just, we don't regulate it, but even the founders, the Sam Altmans, the people like this are like asking the government to please regulate it. Whenever in the history of any business is the founders, the creators begging Uncle Sam to regulate their businesses. But in the meantime, if you're not using AI in your business or your whatever, then you are just missing the mark and you are a dinosaur. So, yeah, Sammy gave us the dinosaur noise. So, I don't know, guys. I like to just have a little AI in the conversation when there's a story that pops up. Make your own opinions. Not that they will eventually, really matter with this topic. Anyway, so a couple weeks ago, I told you about the book I was reading, Dracula. It's actually very good, and I'm like getting almost halfway through that. So, and then because we're entering spooky season, right? Then I'm going to do the Anne Rice Interview with Vampire series. And that's what basically kicked off all the Hollywood vampire stuff. And eventually gave us the movie, the Bella's, Twilight series. Thank you, Sammy. Which, quite frankly, I watched that for the first...
the glitter vampires.
The glitter vampires? Yeah, I watched that for the first time, like, a couple years back, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of cool. I like it, And an old friend of mine is actually in that movie and plays a major role in that film, but I'm going to leave that person nameless. Maybe y'all can figure out who that might be with a little bit of Google research. I bet you could figure out who my old friend from my hometown was that plays a main character role in the Twilight series. Now, what I have for you today is Go Ruck is a company that I was turned on to by another buddy. And it's basically this really cool pouch that holds like all your tech stuff, Maybe if you're a dinosaur like myself, maybe you have a checkbook or two. You've got it's just really cool. So this is a little gear review. and it just folds up. It's got all these pockets, and then you can simply throw it into. This is people with pack problems like myself. It's a problem, but then you just put this bad boy in your backpack, and then it's not all in all those little pockets. You just got it right here in one thing. Anyways, Go Ruck is the company. Send me some cool stuff, Go Ruck, and I'll plug your stuff on the show. Oh, the Go Ruck stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's all good. It's all good. But okay. Let's go Bears. Let's go Raiders this weekend. And man, today was I needed this show this week because last week just had me all torn up, and it was a bummer, but we must move on. We must press forward, and hopefully everybody can love one another a little better. And watch some sports, man. WNBA tonight. I'm sure there's some crappy college football games on tonight if you're that bored. But this weekend, get ready for. I'm excited for Florida, Miami. I'm excited for Texas Tech, Utah. That's the game of the week in college football. That one right there. Hopefully we do not get our butts kicked. Cowboys, Bears. Cowboys, Bears. I am picking the Bears. Bears win. Cowboys been a little big for their britches. Bears win. Okay. Sammy, thank you for I'd like to thank my technical producer extraordinaire, Sam Wolf, a.k.a. Sammy to me. As I say, I am your not-so-humble talking hairdo, Ben. This is the Majestic Coffee Shop in historic downtown Abilene, Texas, and we're coming to you live from the Neon Parrot Live Studios. Don't forget to check out the Travie Wavy before the show. I believe he had some sort of a politician of some sort, maybe a city council member, I'm not sure. But I'm sure it is very interesting. And get yourself a drink, maybe a coffee. Allegedly serving Onyx coffee here. We have Topo Chicos. I think there's some ice cream in there. There's some incredible pastries and victuals of all kinds. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy sports. Read a book. Go outside. Walk your dog. Have a great day, guys.